Okay, we're going to do complementary colors here. So the first thing I'm going to do is launch Bryce here. And next I'm going to tell the camera to sit where I am, camera to director. Okay, and then the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to import a color wheel. And you can find these in the folder in Blackboard there under assignment 3. Click on this little guy here and go into the folder that has color wheels and choose one that you like. Again, the color wheel folder is in Blackboard under assignment 3. Can't miss it. Pick one of these color wheels that you like. I'm going to pick this simple one here. And then you click on it. And then click the check mark. And there it is. Okay. Now I'm just going to rotate it toward me. And then I'm going to raise it up so I can see it a little better, hopefully. Just render that out. And it looks like the sun is in the wrong position there, so I'm going to go ahead and reposition the sun. Render it again. And there it is. So I can see my colors. Now I'm going for complementary colors, or colors that are directly across from each other on the color wheel. So probably the easiest way to start out would be to start with a sky that you can use and then make some complementary colors off the sky. So, you know, you can look around and choose whichever sky you'd like. I'm going to go ahead and choose one of these daytime skies maybe, or we'll try the edge. That's a good one. There's a lot of colors in it. Okay, so you render it out and look at it, and it looks like we have blue on the top, a little bit of purple haze in the middle, and green floor there. So I'm just going to move the sun around, try to get something that looks good to start with. Okay, that's a good start. So we have a blue sky, and we're going to try to get more or less a reddish or orangish floor because it's directly across from blue on the color wheel. So I'm going to look for just a basic texture to start with, and it looks like I've got this stone walkway under flooring. So render that out, and if you notice there, the floor now has some texture. And however, I want more of a reddish color to complement the blue sky. So if you go into the Materials lab and go to the Diffuse button on the top and click on it, you see the colors change. If you want to change it to more colors, just hold the mouse down on it and then drag your color picker over the canvas. In this case, I found just a red color that I want to use. And you can go down to this diffusion slider here and make it darker or lighter as well. Again, this is in the Materials lab under M on your toolbar next to your object, next to your primitive. The M is the Materials lab. So you can drag that slider until you get something you like, and then render it out. And that's just about perfect. You have kind of an orangish hue now directly across on the color wheel. You see the blue, and then directly across is orange color. So now the sky and the floor are complementing each other. Okay. And up here under Sky and Fog, you have Haze and Fog tools. If you just click on these screens up here under Sky and Fog and drag to the left or right, you can get rid of the fog completely or the haze. I just dragged down the fog there, and notice now it's completely red. Not quite as orange as it was, but I think the red and the blue look nice together. They're pretty much complementing each other. Again, the goal is just to get close. It doesn't have to be perfect. And now I'm going to bring my primitives out onto the canvas and start creating some colors off of them too. So let me just position these here in an interesting arrangement. Okay. Go ahead and put the cube out there. So again, we're just using the same primitives, a sphere, a cube, and a pyramid. And you want to create an interesting arrangement. You can resize Again, press Control and then drag over the control point and you'll get the rotation. Bring the size of this down a little bit. Reposition it a little bit. I want to have room for the pyramid in the background there. Okay, so bring your pyramid out. Move that to where you like it. Resize, whatever you need to do. I'm going to go ahead and move that further out to give it some depth of field here. Raise the tip a little more. Okay, that looks good. So you have a nice, interesting arrangement of objects. Your sky and your floor are complementing each other. And so now we're going to apply some textures to the objects. So on the sphere, I'm going to go to the Edit again. And I'm going to look for an interesting texture for this object. So at this point, you should just experiment with many textures and see what you like best. I'm going to try some of these planet rings, these cosmic ones, and see what they look like. That's, I think, called ocean wash. Again, you don't want to change the shape of the object for this. I want to see the sphere. So something that'll not mask the fact that it's a sphere. So these are all kind of more textural, like gaseous kind of textures rather than solids. So I'm going to keep going here. Pitted concrete, that's a good one under stone, I think. Yeah, pitted concrete's good. I'm going to use that because it gives it a little texture and looks a little weather worn. I like that one a lot. Looks like a planet. It's already kind of yellow, which is nice because yellow complements a purplish color all immediately across. So I'm going to go for a kind of a violet or purplish color on the cube here to complement the sphere. Wet asphalt, let's try that. That looks interesting. So click on that and again render. And notice how reflective the surface is. You can actually see the red floor in the bottom of it. It might be a little too reflective for me, but I'll try giving it more of a purplish color. So again, in the Materials lab, I'll click and hold the mouse down on Diffusion and get a purplish color there. See what that looks like. Didn't change it much, so I think what I'm going to do is change that surface and try to get more of a violet color across the entire surface there. So I'm going to look around at some of these rock textures. And some of them look cool. They just look a little bit too busy for me, for my taste anyway. So now I'm going to try some metals. Okay, the metal surfaces are kind of nice here. They're real solid and specular or shiny. So I just clicked a violet surface on there and that looks pretty good. That's sort of complementing the yellow greenish on the sphere. So those two are complementing each other now, and as well as the sky and the floor are somewhat complementing each other. And so since we have red on the floor, let's go green on the pyramid. We'll have the pyramid kind of complement the red, the actual red there. There's a nice green. Let's try that. Not bad. It's a little bright though. If you look on the color wheel, it calls for a darker green directly across. So I may just try to find another one that's a little darker. The one just above it has a little more of a greenish hue and can be a little darker. But let's keep going here. Let's look at some terrains maybe. There's some stone there. Okay, so terrains you have a lot of choices too. You look for a good green one and you'll be in good shape here. So the spring wildflowers texture looks like it was about the right color. Yeah, and if you look on the color wheel, it matches a lot better. So the green now, that's the true complement to the red floor. The blue isn't quite true. the red. The blue should have more of an orange floor, but that's okay. We've still got complements in there off of each other. So now I'm just readjusting the sun to kind of figure out what's working, and keep your options open here. So I don't know. Sometimes you can get a better effect with the sun, and other times you can just leave it, go back to where you were. That's kind of has some nice shadows, but the violet's kind of gone on the building, so I'm just going to keep going. But again, this is entirely up to you, what style you prefer or what effect you're going for. I just want to demonstrate the colors for you. So kind of back to where we started. That looks pretty good. I'll just leave it there. But you can see how the colors are kind of vibrating off of each other and really standing out because they have their own color scheme. Okay, now I'm going to get rid of the color wheel. So you just select it, hit delete, and now you're ready to save it. So, of course, the first thing I want to do is save out a Bryce file. But before I do that, your final render should be changed under Document Setup. You're going to render it out at 1 to 50%, okay? Because since you're going to be turning in 3 JPEGs, I want to render them out smaller, so they're smaller files. And notice now that the render screen is 50% the size of the original canvas. So again, you do that under Document Setup. Change the render resolution to 1 to 50% ratio, and then just go ahead and save the Bryce file somewhere on your computer. In this case, I'm calling it 3-Acre Complementary. It's a BR7 file. Now it says I already have a file that name, so I'm just going to rename mine with demo at the end. Of course, you'd name yours 3-your last name, then complementary. Now I'm going to do the save image as to save the final JPEG. So save image as. Again, you'll name it 3-your last name, and then just make sure it's a JPEG. I added complementary to mine. So 3-your last name, complementary, and then JPEG. And that's basically how you do it.